Guys, let me tell you, there's so much information coming out in regards to Trump, all his affiliates, having to do with the Epstein situation. And there's even murder involved, all you MAGA people, because Epstein did not commit suicide in jail. There was no way. And as per testimony of one of the inmates that was right next to Epstein's cell area, that the way they have these cells designed that you cannot commit suicide. Even the bed height is made a certain way. And this inmate said that you'd have to be a midget to hang yourself. There is nothing in the room that can be used to attach a sheet to hang yourself or whatever. He was killed. He was killed. Trump has had his hands in so many things, nefarious things, that it's incredible. And he's a president of the United States. For all you embarrassed Trump supporters, staunch Republicans. Are you feeling it now? Are you feeling it? That you made a hell of a fucking mistake that you have to live with. Anyway, I believe he is signing the papers on these things having to do with the release of all the Epstein files. He has no choice to think about it. So, no picture because I'm not on camera. Now, don't worry, there's nothing wrong with your phone. Okay, I don't always go on camera. It's like old radio. They didn't have TV. Everybody sat around and they listened by the fireplace, fireside chats. Didn't need any visuals. Just listen to somebody's voice, which kind of centers the attention on what the person has to say rather than a distraction of a visual. I do get on camera, but yeah. But it's not your phone. You'll be happy to know that's not your phone. Anyway, now we're hearing that even Melania Trump was giving blowjobs to Big Bubba. And, well, I guess the Bubba in this case was Epstein, whatever. There was so much shenanigans going on. I'm hearing this stuff, and I don't normally listen to anything to do with fucking politics, man. But when it comes to Trump, I'm so absolutely amazed of this guy's capacity to ruin people's lives, to rule by rule in a sense, to prove and show his how empowered he is and how narcissistic this guy is. I mean, it's incredible. This is going to go down in history for future generations to look back on Trump and say, "Holy shit, that guy was president of the United States. Everything this guy did, everything being a lie." There's no fake news about Trump, but everything to Trump is fake news. It doesn't agree with him. Oy vey. I'm just slowly waking up here. Well, I've sort of been up, but truthfully, I don't know where I get the energy to just do a show this early, but I figure I'm up. So maybe that answers the question last night of people. I said, if I'm not on at 5 in the morning, chances are I might be taking another, long hiatus or permanent hiatus. But I think I'm going to try to come to some compromise. I haven't figured what the compromise is. do a show every other day or once a week. I don't know. I just can't stick to my guns on that. Guild is too busy shining them up. I can't always stick to my guns. Okay. So much stuff in the news. We're going to try to also clean things up a little bit on this show. Uh, Unless it's really important to do so, I'm not going to. Oh, I could talk about other YouTubers, but maybe a good show I've watched or something like that. But I don't really feel inclined to give credit to any of the troll channels. Now, if one of my viewers maybe asked me, "Oh, did you see so and so show? What he had to say?" I'll say yes or no. I didn't, or I did, or unless it's that controversial, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to give credit to these channels. Um, I want to keep it as clean as I possibly can here. If not just to send Popeye into Snoresville. He likes to simulcast my shows, and people are getting a little bit, and I've seen the comments too, people are getting a little bit bored with Popeye. Well, they always have, because Popeye is not really a vlogger. He's a troll that doesn't even live in the Philippines. Doesn't even live here. Hasn't even been here for fucking like 40 years or some shit like that. And which is why we all laugh at him because, you know, he's living his life vicariously through me, basically. Me, yours truly, me. And he doesn't really, even when he does his little soliloquies, you don't know what to talk about. What he will do is just kind of counteract or anything I say will be the opposite. For example, if I say I went to college, he'll say, "You never went to college." If I say I have a degree, he'll say he never had a degree. That kind of stuff. I don't know if he does it to entertain the people or just entertain himself, but not having much to talk about and not having much life experiences because he's been sitting around on his probably very musty chair for so many years because of his immobility issues and psychological issues. But I don't really want to concentrate on him. Just to say hello, Popeye. Because we know he's out there simulcasting, simulcasting. But he's giving me exposure, and thank you for that. Thank you for that. Free, free advertising. People, well, to also add a note on this too, is that people know they know what a turd ball this guy is anyway. So when they listen to his show, they know that he's very adverse with me. So they automatically know he's not going to say anything good about me at all. But the fact is, we do live two entirely different lives. Thank goodness for that. Two entirely different lives. Me, instead of talk about living in the Philippines, I'm actually living in the Philippines. I made it here. Me, also having a long-term relationship and a very good one. Him, no. Me being a lot more mobile than he is. Him not. Me not having to use my right hand to please myself, well, him, well, very mandatory. Him being a lonely man at his age, me, no, I'm not. Sounds good already. So put that up on your opinion board, Popeye, your little poll board. And later on, maybe I'll do a poll and see what my viewers have to say about him. Okay. Some of my regulars haven't made it in here yet. Oh, they'll pop up. They will. Listen to them roosters way across the field. They're from way across the field, but not near my house. That's the only time I'll hear the roosters in the morning. I don't really hear much. I got wild chickens that run around here all the time. Not in my yard. They get killed by my dogs, but outside of my yard area. But I don't live in it. It's not a noisy area. You'll just hear these roosters in the morning, which is fine. I like it. It's like a feeling, living in the country, which I sort of am. Country living in a way on an island. It's actually pretty cool. The fact that I could hear these roosters, it means that I'm alive and I've made it to a new day. Made it to a new, and that is an accomplishment. And just people don't realize what accomplishment that is. No matter what age you are, if you can make it to the next morning, hey, rejoice, rejoice. Even the youngest people, you know, don't, they don't always have a future. Okay, so someone was asking me yesterday, everybody knows me that I pretty much start my show off with my green tea. It's an iconic thing, I do on here is a green tea. The green tea is not only a healthy thing, but it's kind of symbolic. It's symbolic. And it's a whole preparation I have to do here, which I'm just kind of lazy to do it now. That means I have to slice another lime or lemon, whatever you want to call it, or a huge ass calamansi, monsi, whatever you call it. So I can't hold the camera. I can't hold the camera and do what I have to do. Okay, we'll start it off. Okay, so you're gonna boil some water in the microwave, whatever. I give it 3 minutes. I'll put some, and mine is just simply Lipton green tea. It's good enough. Okay. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do basically is take it's supposed to be a lemon. It looks like a lime, which some people think is a big calamansi. Sorry, I got to put the camera down at some point. So I'm slice my finger off. I got to do this right. And what I'm going to do is just take this, of course, and I try to incorporate lemons and whatever into my tea every day for good reasons. It helps with preventing kidney stones, which I had once before, and the citrates in there is it's like incredible stuff for your body. I mean, I could go into a half hour talking about that alone. So with a hand, although I got a little machine thing, a little hand press that actually you can put these things in and squeeze every bit of the lemon, whatever, into your tea. Unfortunately, I'm going to probably catch a few seeds in here. That's the bad thing. It's not a big deal. So we're going to squeeze a whole lemon into this. Okay. Get as much as you can. Your hands are all lemony, but I could think of worse things on my hand than lemon juice. We won't go there. And the process is, okay, what I do is I add turmeric to my tea. Here are all my secrets here. Got to put the phone down for a second here. I need a new bottle of this. It kind of cakes up in here, but I'm sure it's still good. The lighting ain't good in here. I ain't got the big light on. And indiscriminately, just I'm gonna put. There we go. That's even. Yeah, that's probably about the right amount. I put turmeric in here, but you see, I also put black pepper because what the black pepper does, piperine, is actually. I think the chemical name of pepper is actually, and you're gonna put a dash of black pepper in here because what black pepper does is it kind of it makes a superhero out of the turmeric. It synergizes actually the turmeric by 1,000. I'm not kidding you, 1,000 times, 1,000. And what I've been doing extra is the new addition I've been doing is adding ginger. I vary it every now and then. I vary it. So what I'll do is I'll take some ginger, and ginger has a lot of functions too, your intestinal, your stomach system, and so forth. Ginger. So I'll add some ginger to this too. And if I really want to get, and maybe we'll do that today too, I really want to get adventurous. What I'll do is, and cinnamon has its own role in your body, and actually for your blood sugar system, actually for your blood sugar, I'll take a pinch. Whoop, that's maybe a little too much of ginger. And you're saying, "Wow, dude, you're telling me that's your tea?" Well, it varies. I don't always add the ginger, and I don't always add the cinnamon. Okay. Okay, let's open up these curtains. It's too goddamn dark in here. A little bit. Of course, I'm gonna stir this puppy up, of course, and let the tea, kind of steep in here. It's too hot to drink, so you let it lay there for a while. And by the way, you don't want to drink something too hot because it actually could damage your esophagus. And most people sometimes they like to drink these really hot drinks, but they don't realize that actually it could cause damage over time to the lining of your esophageal tissues. Okay, so that's pretty much done. That's my tea. And I said I don't do this necessarily for taste. This tea is more medicinal than it is like, oh, let me drink this. I mean, if I drank green tea on its own, which I do, that's sometimes good enough for me. I mean, I like the taste of green tea. That's fine. But I add these I call ingredients to my tea, just to kind of empower the tea. And everything in this tea benefits your body on a cellular level. That's why I do this. Why? Because I'm an old fuck. Okay. And trying to preserve myself as best as I can through different methods, through a little bit of exercise, through some of the things I eat in my diet, a lot of fiber, protein, things like that, antioxidants, it comes from a lot of supplements and some foods. But as I always say, I always put a disclaimer to everything on here. Um, there's no guarantees in life. But I just figure it doesn't hurt to do some good things to yourself. It's a crapshoot. I mean, life is a crapshoot. I mean, your body has its own, you know, idea of how long, you're going to have a living body, okay? I mean, it's in the cards already, you know. You don't know when you're going to go, but think your body has an idea according to what shape your internal organs are after you've mistreated it all these years, or maybe even took care of it. Good morning. Man, you're getting taller and taller every time I see you, man. Jesus, Jesus, you're getting tall. I know you're going to outgrow my size, that's for sure. Everybody would. That's my boy, kind of a stepson. He's a good kid. Really is. Surrounded by people that care about you. That's another thing, too. It's not diet and supplement necessarily. It's not this and not that. Jesus Christ, I already got mosquito bites. I went outside and I already got fucking. It doesn't take long. You don't even see these little motherfuckers. I didn't have these bites when I got out of bed. But I went outside, and as I said, one of my crutches is smoking. So I go out to have a cig, right? It doesn't take long that I'm standing out there. You don't even see them. Here's the thing. You don't, I don't know, what are they called? No-see-ums? That's a different insect altogether. I don't know. But these mosquitoes are like no-see-ums because you don't see them. I got about 3 bites already. You don't see them. It doesn't take long for them to bite you, and they're gonna feel all that itching. Boy, no wonder I go through so much fucking cortisone cream. No matter where you are in the tropics, man, you're gonna have fucking mosquitoes. We don't have like abundance. It's not like I'm near a swamp. Geez, I could feel them already. What, I have about 4 of them? Wow. Wow. Okay. Enough about no-see-ums or no mosquitoes. I like to call them mosquitoes. Mosquitoes, as it's spelled out. We say mosquitoes. But if you look at the spelling on there, what is the spelling? What is it? Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. It sounds like mosquitoes. Maybe the Mexicans pronounce it that way. Maybe that's where I got it from. Mosquitoes. So I like to call them mosquitoes. Oh, we got plenty of them out here in the Philippines, baby. It's known for something. It'd be known for mosquitoes and ants. Here we go with the ants. Right, Popeye? Oh, Jesus. So anyway, I was kind of been following this shit, and as I said, I'm really never political. If you're just tuning into my channel, you don't know who the fuck I am. I'm not really savvy in politics, and nor do I ever usually follow or even give a shit about politics unless it's my own, or somebody's trying to put politics on me. But I gotta admit, this Trump situation going on this is huge. The guy that's supposed to be leading the country called the United States, and what this guy was involved with, and what goes on behind closed doors on Capitol Hill. Jesus Christ. Of course, this has to do with the Jeffrey Epstein files. I guess Trump is pretty much forced to have to sign this because Congress and so forth, whatever, they approved unanimously to bring forward all these secret files to the public. To the public. Good morning, Mr. Mr. Shuffer. You are welcome to my channel. Please subscribe or not. So more and more information has been coming out. God, even Trump's wives, or Melania, one of them, was giving blowjobs to Jeffrey Epstein. And what was happening is that Trump was getting sloppy seconds from Epstein, whatever, from his harem. Oh, God, so much stuff in there you wouldn't believe. They actually got thousands of pages of files having to do, with the Epstein files and who's been involved in Epstein's life and all this crazy shit that's been going on. Underage kids, underage girls, and rape and holy shit. And you voted him for president, a lot of you. I got to throw that in your faces. I was hoping that the day would come that I could throw something in all the people's faces that voted for Trump and thought he was going to be great for America, make America great again. He doing a good job of that. A new poll. I got a notification that recommended your channel. Well, great. That's great. You don't know much about me. I actually been on YouTube, sir, I'm assuming you're a sir, for like a decade, but I was on and off, different reasons, whatever. I don't have a lot of subs, but all the years I've been on, I should have like hundreds of thousands, but I don't. But I'm very well known, at least in this community here. Now, I'm an American, to let you know, a little background, who actually is living in the country of the Philippines in Southeast Asia. Okay, so I don't just get a Philippines community on here, but I get other people from the States or Australia or whatever, stragglers even that come in here. And basically, although I don't have like 100,000 people viewing me at any point in time, it's kind of, I call it a grassroots channel here, where there's maybe a few handfuls of people that regularly come on here and listen to my show. I'm known to have a lot of trolls. A lot of horrible things have happened to me by trolls, but that's part of the territory on here. I do go on camera. I do go on camera. Not every time, but we've been around for a while, and we talk about sometimes very controversial topics, sometimes within the community, between the Philippines genre, and certainly outside of that. I get into everything from UFOs, is there alien life? We talk about the planet. We talk about science. We talk about idiots on YouTube. We cover a spectrum of topics on my show. We like to keep it interesting. It's kind of like a fireside chat, which henceforth me not being on camera all the time. It's kind of has that feel, and some people like that. Some people think I have a very soothing voice, which attracts people on here, which is not a bad thing. That I just said that too, right? Shuffled. It says you sound like a radio announcer. I wonder if you look how you sound. Well, maybe I'll go on camera a little bit. I'm not all coiffed up with my hair and all that. So, okay. Snappy Tom says, I live in Popeye's head. Yeah, apparently. Say hello to Popeye, everybody. He's out there probably simulcasting me right now. I see no reason why he wouldn't be. And we also talk about how pathetic people are on YouTube and how, at least certainly in this genre here in the Philippines, that there's so many mentally ill people, and we're scratching our heads saying, why do they all gather here in the Philippines genre? And this is not even Filipinos we're talking about. These are, majority of my audience, 65%, is actually outside of the Philippines, believe it or not. They don't even live here, but yet they have something to say about something on here, right, Popeye? Who lives in Florida. His name is Robert Clausen, and he lives in Florida. He's an old dude who hasn't buried his sausage in a woman for about a couple of decades. His wife left him because he was abusive from his drinking and plus being an asshole. And he likes to come on here, pick and choose people that he'd like to attack. And oh, it's just a long story. He's been on a long time. He was part of a hate show on here. I could go on and on about the guy, but you get the point. He's kind of immobile. I think he has to use a mobile scooter, a mobility scooter, hangs around in old man's bingo parlors. and doesn't leave the house very often except to go to the store or go to bingo or something. And I'm giving you the picture, pretty much. There's more to it, but why bother? Aloe. Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen. Aloe's been kind of getting back into my show because Aloe also realizes that, we've had a lot of people die off on here. By the way, Aloe, do you know anything about what's really happening with Roberto? Because I'm believing it. I think he did have Alzheimer's or something. And because I saw on his Facebook several years ago that he was telling people to support the Alzheimer's Foundation or something. Something was going on with that. Either his brother had Alzheimer's and died, or maybe he has Alzheimer's, but you know Roberto very well. You know that he would not miss an opportunity to come on and attack me or something. You know, tell us what you know. Snappy Tom says he never mentions his service because he has nothing to be proud of. No, he's always mentioning his service, Popeye. As if, he did something so unique and profound in his so called career. Then Popeye would say in the show, I don't talk about anything personal about myself. Well, because you don't want people to know the truth about you with a wash up and never been, has been, never was actually that you are. He's like a really washed up dude. You think he's fine? Well, what is the reason he ain't on? Roberto doesn't just not come on. Al, come on now. You're an intelligent guy, and you're a good researcher on here. You're one of the best. What's really going on, Roberto? Regurgitate a few syllables on that. You have not spoken to him for a long time. You know, Roberto, he was gung ho on attacking my ass, that's for sure, and Gilda. And there has to be a reason why he ain't on. Nothing stops Roberto from doing a short or coming on or joining somebody's live show and attacking me or something. Be interesting to know, if not just, just be informed. And somebody knows. I know that somebody knows. But they're just not saying anything. Maybe they had an agreement. Don't tell people what's going on with me, Roberto probably said. I think he just got fed up with all of it. Well, I could say that too, but he was, I don't know. I don't think he had the capability of not coming on and making rude comments or doing a show geared toward me or somebody else, me mostly. That was in his blood. He had a lot to say about me, and unless he found God or something, maybe he was reborn or something. I don't know. Something gave with him. But I know somebody, it has to be somebody out there that knows for sure what's going on with him. Somebody that he talks to all the time, his confidant, something. Because there are people that have talked to Roberto personally on the phone and so forth, you know. Well, I don't know. What is he? What does he have to reason to be fed up? He's one of the fucking trolls. He's fed up what's going on YouTube, and he's one of the causes and factors of all the bullshit on here. You know, Snappy says, got fed up. Oh, boy, you're reading my mind, dude. Just what I just said without even looking at the comments. Snappy Tom says he got fed up. I'm not buying it, and neither is Frank. No, I'm not buying it. But appreciate your thought, what you think, Al. I kind of read between the lines because I know his personality. There's no way in the world that this guy could stop coming on. Not that he came on every day like I do or something. He had such hate in there for me, such contempt that there's no fucking way unless something's going on in his life. I don't even know how his wife even puts up with him, but I always thought they were definitely separated because one, him was living in Dallas, then the family home where the wife lives was off toward the coast. I know that. I know the whole address and everything. What do you mean? I know. I had police over there. That's where the kids are living in that house. And I think the mom, his wife, is living there too. I don't think Roberto's the kind of guy that you can live to. He's just too. If he comes off on YouTube the way he did, how hateful and you know how many definitions of this character can I come up with? I would imagine it was in his real personality around his house. With his wife and all that. Anyway, that I just that's speculation, but whatever. Roberto often just disappeared the last few years. No, not this long. He would always make a cameo or make a comment on somebody's channel. He could still be on, just going under a troll's name. He just doesn't feel like being attacked or something. Not many people like Roberto, and he knows that too. It's like, get the hint, dude. Get the hint already. Oh, this tea is too hot to drink. Let me try. Oh, it's about right. Yeah, and I definitely have, for those you don't know who Kristen Sabu is, yeah, Kristen Sabu was this guy that, quite an interesting character. He's well known, he lived in Cebu at the time, and he's well known for walking around with his camera, a little steady cam. He had a, what do you call on it? Anyway, he walked around with his camera, and particularly around uh, Fuente Circle area, around Robinson's and around the communities around there, Capitol Hill area, which he actually lived in at the time. And Chris was kind of controversial. He would come on too. Chris, was most people don't know, was one of the biggest trolls on there, apparently on Discord, another social platform, when he was hell on wheels behind the scenes. But what people saw with Chris in Cebu was like a very unassuming, mellow kind of character that a lot of people tuned into that have visited Cebu area, and they just loved watching him walking around that area for what they circle. He was like a little gerbil walking around in a cage, but people tuned in like fucking crazy to him. These are people that walk that area, but they don't live in Cebu, and it was such a pleasure for them to watch him walk around for what they circle, and you'd always hear him, "Hello, Marie from Binghamton, New York. Oh, hello, Jim from Indianapolis, Indiana." He'd be giving shout outs to all the people on the show. They loved it. They fell in love with him. He had a big audience that knew when he was live. Everybody was on, not like my show, 14 watching. But Chris had a lot of people on there. And these were people mostly, there was some local, our YouTube community here that would tune in on him. But the majority were people that, well, they miss Cebu and how cool it would be to look at Cebu live. And Chris used to go live on the street and be able to look at that area again and reminisce about their visit there and their trip. It was all good on some level. It was all good. But what people didn't know about Chris is that he was Mr. N, Mr. Notorious. And he was behind a lot of shit that people didn't know was going on. Behind the hate. He'd go on Discord. He'd be hell on wheels on Discord. People didn't know this stuff about Chris. Just like Clark Kent, this unassuming reporter, but he really was Superman. People didn't know that. Well, Chris wasn't Superman, but he was notorious. Good morning, my dear. My precious. My precious. Just doing my morning live here to my 12 people on here. Oh, pardon my sarong, but as most people listen to me know, I'm always multitasking. I'm not always sitting at the table with the phone in my hand. I'm usually doing things multitasking. Why? Because I can, because I got things to do. And I can also see that I got some dirty windows here. I got some dirty windows. We have to clean these puppies up. If you don't clean your windows, they're going to permanently stain. I don't know if you know that. It just kind of embeds itself into the glass. You got to clean your windows. Okay. I got to settle down somewhere. That's right. I'm going to go out, my friends. I'm going to have myself a ciggy. Is that okay? Do I need your permission? Popeye, Popeye, is that okay, Popeye? You could light up one of your filtered camels while I do mine. We could share. It's almost like we're smoking together, Popeye. I see that one song I put out there on my one of my YouTube. Oh God. I actually think the guy's in love with me. I don't think he's heterosexual these days. I really don't think that. I get these vibes that he just loves my voice. He loves me. Just how would somebody be so obsessed with another human at the level that Popeye does? I mean, enough to simulcast me every time I'm on, then make a commentary about my show. Old expression, living rent free in somebody's head and all that stuff. Yeah. But when you don't have much of a life, I mean, what do you do, I guess? Do you feel sorry for somebody like that? Do you feel like understanding on why they do these things? Or you just still very perplexed why somebody would spend so much time and waiting with bated breath till I would put a show on, or anybody for that fact. It's too bizarre. It's just too bizarre, as far as I'm concerned. What does my schedule say? I can't tell all my personal stuff. Something I'm supposed to do. Oh, and I generally don't get into all this legal shit, but there is some movement going on. That's all I can tell you. Call it a bowel movement, whatever you want to call it, but there is some movement going on certain issues. That's all I could say. Oh, you know what would be cool? One day I'd actually like to talk to you on the phone. Or actually, if you could kind of hook up with me on Facebook Messenger, I think it would be the wildest, coolest thing is to talk to you one to one on Messenger or something like that. I don't have any other applications. I don't have you know, WhatsApp, whatever, and all that shit. Pretty grassroots here. But that would be awfully cool if you could look me up on Facebook. Yeah, yeah, do that. I love to talk to one to one, nobody there. Fuck going on. We don't want to make a circus act of us going on YouTube and all that. Because to tell you the truth, though, we talked about a whole lot of shit anyway. On YouTube. If we had, even if we had a StreamYard thing, I don't know. You pretty much know what the fuck is going on with this and that. Um, but I think more on a more personal level, and you don't have to reveal a lot of information about yourself, what your real name is, and all that. And you certainly don't have to go on camera because I know you're not going to do that anyway, out of fear that I would actually spread your picture around, and that's a possibility. But actually, if we actually came to some personal agreement or something like that, I wouldn't do that, and I could prove that too. But nevertheless, I could play it your way, you know. But it'd be rather interesting on a one-on-one with no audience, one-on-one to kind of get a feel what you're really all about, and you can reveal to me whatever that you feel that you can reveal to me about yourself. And I would make a promise I wouldn't say shit to anybody about, you know, what you really do for a living. But you've already said that already. I don't know. You're kind of living off the residuals of some businesses, like maybe you have property, a rice farm, whatever you have in the Philippines or whatever it is. In other words, you're comfortable. I believe you have money. I believe you're comfortable because you do a lot of traveling around. I know I don't believe you run a sex toy company either, but that wouldn't be out of the picture with you, would it? Hello. Uh, Trying to read this in the light here. I am still um, traveling, but I will get in touch with. Yeah, cool. Wow, people are saying, Aloe? But we like to surprise people, right, Aloe? We both have the capabilities of doing that very well, don't we? Because you and I are full of surprises. I think you know that. People underestimate me. They always underestimate me. But I think they've underestimated you for a long time until you decided you didn't like somebody, man, and you just came. It was me too. I was not out of the picture. We had our heyday, didn't we? Maybe we still do, or maybe just being nice to me. I don't know. I always keep that in mind in the back of my head that yeah, knowing the history, the tumultuous history that we've had. But I think underneath that, you know, gesture exterior lies a man of reason who does possess a level of normality somewhere. That means I'm complimenting you. That's what that means. He's just an average guy. Well, people wouldn't think you're an average guy on here, I'll tell you that. No, you're not an average guy at least on social media, you're not. Damn, when you want to slam it to somebody, you know how to slam it to somebody. I was one of the people you slam amongst countless other people. You have this propensity to, go on the attack when you're really pissed at something. And you've been pissed at people. I mean, I know. I think in the past, I remember, but the worst I seen with you, and you were yelling at people. I mean, that was real. When they were threatening your family or something like that, I remember that. Um, and you just, man, you were just like going at them uh, like holy fucking hell. I remember that. Yeah, my memory isn't that bad, but I know when people hit a soft spot with you or an spot. I mean, you will go on the attack like there is no fucking tomorrow. You see, the funny thing, folks, if you don't know Aloe de Vinta, that's not his real name, but Aloe has been a kind of a figurehead on here for a decade, at least. There's a lot of people that fear Aloe. And this is a man that they've never seen a picture of. This is a man that they've never met in person. I don't think anybody. Oh, that's a good question. Before I go on, have you personally ever met in person anybody on YouTube? Have you actually ever met Big E? There were rumors that he's met you. Have you ever met Big E, for example? Good question. Or anybody? Yeah. Aloe keeps himself very anonymous. And maybe that's the thing to do on here. Because as a YouTuber and a long time YouTuber, the problem is it's really hard to keep your personal life off YouTube because, I mean, you're not just living out here alone. I mean, I'm not living here alone. And sometimes you can't help incorporating something that's going on with your family or make mention of somebody, your girlfriend, whatever might be the case. It's really hard to do that because, you're not, you're living your life. You have a new family, Philippines family. Your girlfriend is an integral part of your life. It's hard not to hear a voice in the background saying something, or it's hard not to mention something. See, what they do in here, unfortunately, folks, they try to compile, like Popeye, other people like you, try to compile so much information about you that they can find a way. Yeah, they do that to use against you. It's like a strike force on here. I've had people listen to me since I've ever been on YouTube, and one of the people is someone you know as Brevis, which of course is not his real name. And Brevis is the psychopath guy. He's an actual stalker by definition, an actual stalker who came over unannounced here. And I won't go into the story again, other than to say that it's creepy. The first thing he says, "I'm your biggest fan." I'm thinking about this movie, Play Mystic for me. Who's the actress in that? man, even my girlfriend said, this is creepy, Frank. I don't know exact words of Filipino, it's used in the description, but it comes down to the fact of being this is not quoting, but that this is creepy. This is just too creepy. Actually, Brevis at the beginning really liked you. Well, yeah, the story with that for people that are listening and you want to understand what happened with Brevis, at least not going into the whole complete story, is that Brevis was one of these guys that needed attention. So if you were well known on YouTube like I am in this genre, and if you were infamous or famous or infamous, he had to find a way to go and have interviews or be on camera with people like myself. He was on camera with Jerry. He was on camera with, he went to visit Fazio, and all big key figures in the community here that were well known. And it's the starving of attention with him. But when I did talk to him, and what he relayed to me is that he followed me since day one. I mean, he knows everything about everything I've ever said on YouTube, has clips, audio recordings, probably has pictures of me on his wall, like from some creepy movie on TV, some serial killer type guy. And if you looked into this guy's eyes, there was nothing there, folks, nothing. Heard of a dead pool? Did you ever hear of dead eyes? That you were looking into the eyes of somebody that wasn't there. Creepy, just really creepy, creepy. So what happened in a nutshell is that, I was in Cebu. My kids, kept on telling me here, oh, this guy keeps on coming by. He made a trip to Bantayan just to come and see me, just to review a little bit of this anyway. So those that don't understand the background of this and why he's so against me. And I don't like anybody that comes over unannounced, you know. And for fear of my kids, so I call them my stepkids really, because that's what they are really. But I wasn't here, and he kept on coming by, and he said, "This guy keeps on coming by." And I was actually in Cebu, wasn't hiding. I was in Cebu at the time, but this is even prior to that too. He did this, so he come down over here. So I finally came back from Cebu, and then he shows up again. Oh, that guy's here again. Yeah, I didn't know who he was. He was on a motorcycle with his girlfriend. That's when it started, basically. I invited him into the house, even gave him a piece of cake and all that. I was very cordial to him and all that. And the second time he came over, he sat in my living room, and I kept the recorder portion of my cell phone on to record how he was attacking Barry Jordan, the guy that, to this day, contemporary times, he was, supporting Barry, but at the same time, he was trashing Barry Jordan like you wouldn't believe. But yet he's supportive of Barry Jordan because Barry Jordan is against me. Follow me so far? So the reason Brevis is on the attack of me, and is also the same reason, two peas in a pod, the same reason Barry was on the attack of me. Isn't this coinky dinky? So what is the reason, Frank? The reason is I rejected him. Brevis wanted to take me, he didn't get the hint, he wanted to take me and Gilda out for dinner. And I just avoided. He wanted an answer because he was only going to be in Bantayan a certain amount of time, and talk among each other. That's great. And I didn't want anything to do with him. How much of a hint can I give the guy? So basically, in a nutshell, Brevis was rejected by me and Gilda. Gilda being my long-term partner, and he reacted to that. He doesn't like being rejected because I think my theory about him is that he's had a lot of rejections in his life. Now, Barry Jordan, the guy that he supports, who's in jail for cyber libel charges, 5 of them that he, you know, I put against him. Uh, Barry was trying to be upward mobile. He seen that I was somewhat popular on YouTube. He came over again, like Brevis did, unannounced, with a guy named Hagante, who's an occasional YouTuber, whatever, or commenter. Hagante was kind of all right for the most part. Came unannounced, and he did the things he always did: smoking cigarettes, throwing the butts in my yard. Didn't pick him up, just like any place he rented. He just throw indiscriminately his cigarettes anywhere. And of course, I knew about Barry. I didn't invite him over. It was not my intention. There was no invitation to come and visit me. He just came on his own. Why? Because Barry wanted to be more upwardly mobile on his channel. He wanted to have more controversy on his channel. He wanted to show that, hey, I went to Frank's place. I went to Frank's. Oh yeah, like it was kudos. It was going to put it's like the golden chalice. But I was very nice to him when he came here. I was very nice to him, even threw 300 pesos in his pocket. I gave him a pill for his lungs because he was coughing up a storm. He was a chain smoker. I didn't have to do any of that. I did. On a sneak, gave him 300. Another time he came over, with this girl, and he stayed at this resort place, and she paid for it, of course. He would never pay for it. That was his whole MO. And of course, a lot of you heard this already, but I'm just reviewing for people that don't understand the situation. Why is Frank under the attack all the time, or whatever, this and that. But basically, what it comes down to is, Barry was rejected by me. He said he was trying to make friends with me. He had good intentions and all that. No, he didn't. Barry calculates everything he does. You know, maybe I throw him some money. Maybe that was his intent. I feel sorry for him, but I gave him not much. I gave him 300 pesos with a good heart. I knew he was a creep, but I do have compassion when it's due. Even to Barry at the time, until things got worse later on, there was no compassion for him at all. That's why he's in jail. But when I rejected him, the same as Brevis, that's why they get along. Him and Brevis, they had the same experience with me, that they were rejected by me. And that's why they're so against me. So that's the real story behind that. That's the real story. You're hearing it right here if you haven't heard it before. That's why Brevis and Barry were so against me. But unfortunately, with Barry's situation, it got ugly. And through a period of so many years, he was doing live shows attacking me, calling me a sexual predator, a child predator. And it got really bad. It became daily. It's not like I've never called out some choice names to anybody on here, because I certainly have. But I've never, there was no, comparance. I believe say what you have to say. If you don't like somebody, just get on and say, you know what, I don't like you, or I hate you, or whatever, and get it over with. But you see, this was continual. He didn't know when to stop. In fact, not only did he not know how to stop, but when I got him for immigration overstay, when I got him for 5 counts of cyber libel against me under RA 10175, Section 4C4, under the Republican Act of the Philippines, that's the actual legality, codes, and so forth for the crime he committed. He even, pleaded guilty when I present the evidence that he thought I never had. That's how stupid he was. Even though I presented the evidence well before court on my show, he couldn't see that. I didn't want to see it, didn't want to believe it. But anyway, not to go into all the legal details, he's in jail. He's pissed off about it at me, still threatening me from his jail cell all this time. In fact, when he had the 5 charges put against him, in disbelief that it actually happened, that they actually had the balls to do it, even having these 5 charges against him, guess what? He's still, when he was able to do live shows, still coming on, attacking me and calling me a child molester and threatening my life. He still didn't learn. Okay, that's the end of that story. That kind of tells you, paints a picture about Brevis, that we know as Brevis, and Barry Jordan. Okay. Now, unfortunately for Brevis, I came up with his, and so did Al, his real name. He didn't like that. But Barry got what was deserved to him, and it's been about 2 and 3/4 years he's been incarcerated in combination of his immigration overstay. So to end the story with the Barry thing, what happened was Barry got his girlfriend an act of cold revenge for him being incarcerated. He got his girlfriend, which I think is his ex now, to write up a complaint, and it was backed up by some of the money people on here that claim they have nothing to do with it, which is all bullshit. She put a scathing complaint against me to try to get me deported. It was a deportation claim as being an undesirable. And this was coerced by Barry himself and a few people in the community that didn't like me. So they backed her up, is what they did, money wise, to get a lawyer to write this very professional affidavit up. It's something that she could not write herself, not in a million years, nor can Barry. Barry can barely understand the use of the English language. It got ugly. So this report went to immigration. They took it under their wing, and they put a hold order on me. Yeah, is this an amazing stories I'm telling this morning? And it got really ugly. Of course, my lawyer had to get involved in this. He had to do counter affidavits and all that stuff, memorandums and motions and all this crap. It has been 17 months since her complaint was put in on me. 17 months. And immigration's supposed to come up with a resolution on this. I'm just following up the story on here. Some of you already noticed, some of you may not. 17 months since she put that complaint on me. And immigration has not come up with a resolution. Nay or yay, whatever, what they want to do. She want to get me deported. Barry want to get me deported. They got their feelings hurt. And, Barry, of course, deserves his incarceration. Everybody agrees, except like Biggie or Mick Fisher. They think he's he got a bad deal, but I don't want to go into that again. They know what he's made of and everything else, but because I'm involved, they can say, oh, yeah, he deserves to be out of jail, send him home on his deportation order. They don't want to have to examine or even talk about the details in between because they know I'm right. And you guys are listening very carefully. I like that, very intensely. So to sum that up, he's still in jail, and the reason he's still there is, I guess it has something to do with what they call subsidiary imprisonment, because basically I didn't take the case to the end and let the judge make his decision. It would have dragged out too long. So basically, we just allowed him to go and plead guilty, which we were hoping that would happen, and it did happen. We just planned this out with precision. We knew if we let him plead guilty on this, he'd be signing his own death warrant, really. He did. He pleaded guilty to all 5 charges because in his mind, he thought, okay, this is my ticket home. Now they could just deport me. Oh, no, it wasn't like that. The judge said you got to pay 250,000 pesos in a court penalty, and you have to pay restitution to me, Frank, 250,000 pesos. He doesn't have the money to do that. Although he does, but he's saving that money for when he gets deported so he could start his life. But he's willing to be incarcerated all this time not to spend that money. That's how cocky he is. He don't want to see me get a peso in my pocket. That's what this is all about. And at the same time, nobody wants to help him either because they don't like him. They know the damage he's done to women, to people he took money from, how he's lied to everybody on here, that you couldn't believe a word he said. He drank a lot. He smoked a lot. He used women for their money, so he didn't have to use his SSI money, whatever. The guy, notorious as hell. If you want to talk about an undesirable, this guy fits the prescription in neon signs. He's one of the worst examples of a foreigner to live in this country ever. He deserved what he got. Deserved exactly what he got. No question. No question. And I've achieved something that nobody else could do. I'm very proud of myself for that. This guy deserved it. If it didn't get that really bad, I wouldn't have done what I did. But I figured it had to stop somewhere. He was gung ho, ruining my reputation on worldwide media, saying I was a sexual predator when I wasn't, and turning stories upside down with tenants I had in Hawaii. And it went on and on and on and on and on and on. I said, enough, enough. So, retained my lawyer, worked every penny of it to this date, and we got him initially incarcerated in a Mandawi detention center and then off to Bikutan, and then to Billy Bid, otherwise known as Montelupa, which I still think he's in, but he's claiming now he's back to Bikutan. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Because of overpopulation, they shift the prisoners around. But now he's having trouble with the Chinese in there. And that's his cellmates, Chinese of all people. I don't think you want to be surrounded by a bunch of Chinese. And with Barry's big mouth, a very dangerous situation for him. And I would not be surprised if he had the shit beat out of him multiple times so far since his incarceration. Four, 1 year, 2 years. Oh, how long do you think will it take for him to go home? If you had to go under this subsidiary program of sorts, 2.5 years, I think, would be the limit on this, I think. But it's really up to the discretion of the courts or immigration, whatever. They will probably use the time that he's been in Bikitan a month, and then in Bilibid, which is Montelupa prison that I think he's in. Well, I know he did go. He could have been reverted back to Bikitan, but that's possible. They shift people back and forth according to population control in the prisons. And you consider the time. How long has he been in Bilibid? I don't know, 4 months. I don't know. Then a month in Bikitan that I know about, and so I figure another 2 years if he doesn't pay. Now, who would put themselves through that? Because he doesn't want to see me make any money off him. But if you consider the money that I've spent on lawyers, I'm not getting rich from this. 250,000 pesos is, it's pocket lint, really, considering I probably spent conservatively, I don't know, 500,000 pesos on him since the beginning of this, which is not chump change in the Philippines, by the way. That's, up to a half a million pesos. Okay. It's not a lot of American money, but here in the Philippines, that's quite a bit of money. Was it worth it? Oh, fuck yeah. No problem. I don't have a problem with the amount I spent. I wish I didn't have to spend that at all. But that was a decision. I could have been used for vacations or something, or buy some modern appliances or something. But no, I'm pretty steadfast when I make up my mind about something, and I did. And it worked out. So I don't regret spending the money. I don't regret it at all. We got a pretty solid audience, a solid 14 that's hanging in there to hear all these stories. My show's going to get better and better because we're going to get more controversial, but not necessarily having to do with the YouTubers on here. Although there's a lot to talk about them. We got a lot of funny people on here too. Name names, I've named them, that shouldn't even be out in the Philippines or anywhere. That come to another country and just get in trouble. And what's the purpose of it? They leave everything behind in their mother country, and they come here and they cause problems. They wind up in jail or get killed or they get beat up or something. They come and they hang around in the seediest fucking places and bars. They want to go from one country to another just to hang out at fucking bars and get drunk and chase ass that they have to pay for, because most of these expats, we call them sexpats, it's a different sexpats come here to get pussy, but the problem is they have to pay for it. And you all know the names on here, the people that do that. I don't have to mention them. It's pretty sad. They can't get a woman in their country, and Philippines is supposed to be one of the easiest countries to get a woman. They can't even do that unless they pay for it. Now that's pretty sad. Says Shuffle. It's your decision to put somebody behind bars, and you want money for doing it. No, I wasn't even asking for no money. I didn't ask for any money. I didn't ask for damages. No, not at all. The judge came up with that shit. If I would have asked for damages, it would be a hell of a lot more. There would be punitive damages like you wouldn't fucking believe for my reputation and so forth. It wouldn't be just 250,000. I'd let the judge decide on that. I did not give a figure to my. I would say at least cover my legal expenses. So I didn't even ask for that. I was just happy that he was got in jail, and 250,000 pesos would just be the icing on the cake if I ever got that. That's all. I didn't care. All I cared about is I accomplished a mission that I have. Mission completed. Some people thought it was mission impossible because people tried and they couldn't do anything with Barry, or they didn't really execute it all the way. But I was the only one on here. I'll go down in history in the Philippines genre. The guy that finally got Barry, that got the piece of shit off the streets, so he couldn't harm, put a knife to a Filipino in a fucking bar to try to get away with what he owed on a past bill. The guy was just a creep, man. Nobody would disagree with me on that. On a surface level, Big E and people like that, no, they're going to say, no, Barry didn't deserve that. I hear that on all the time. You ready at a deportation order? Should not. Big E said, no, just let him spend a day in jail and send him home. But, like I said before, they didn't wear my shoes. They didn't experience what I did with him. And they didn't have the same experience. If it was in my shoes, if I had this big career and stuff, and something horrible like that happened, it could ruin my career. You got to think of it that way. And Big E doesn't see it that way. Only because Big E doesn't like me. Oh, he said, I don't hate Frank at all. The hell he don't, because he's been behind a lot of shit out here. Oh yeah, he's been behind a lot of shit. It is my personal belief. It is my belief that he financed Barry's girlfriend for this. Him and or McFisher. That's just my belief. It's just my opinion. I have a right to an opinion. Because there's not many people that have money on here. Guys, if you didn't know. Hello, Newman. Known as a famous Jerry. Hello, Jerry. By the way, at the moment, I can't see your comments. I'm out having. I'm going to keep out as much as I can, of course, the private shit in my life. Or if we ever had a spat or whatever, personal things that don't belong or should be talked about on my. I'm going to dispense with that as much as I possibly can. I'll slip up every now and then because it's really hard to mention envy about members of something because they are part of my life every single day. They could be talking in the back. They in fact, he's even created it for picking up men in a bar and all this shit. Typical stuff you find out on here. Jealousy is definitely a denominator in all this because a lot of these people and creepy people like Popeye just will never have what I have. And I'm one of the few people that have an actually decent relationship. Not decent, but an excellent relationship. Which some of these people don't even have a woman. And the woman they have is basically bought and sold. It's the wallet that kind of keeps them around. That's not my situation, as proof. And as such, there is a certain level of jealousy and envy. Oh, they don't like when I use those words, jealousy and envy. They don't want to hear me say that because they know that's exactly what's going on. That is the denominator of a lot of the shit on here. I think not just with me, but I think with a lot of other YouTubers that are jealous that maybe somebody's making more money to getting more subs. Always competition on here. They're all fighting with each other, left and right, right and left, trying to make their show better than somebody else's. These are fucking grown-ass fucking adults. They're grown-ass adults to make it better. And this behavior it's, as Jim says, phenomenal. It's phenomenal behavior. 17 strong. Okay, now I can read comments here to make my also extra special oatmeal. Ego on the scene doing shit. Yeah, I know that. I've always known that. Expat Forever says Popeye hasn't had a woman since his wife left him for a black dude 20 years ago. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Hey, you notice that Popeye's not going to talk about that. You will never. He says, I'm never going to talk about my personal life. Well, because his personal life is pretty fucked up. That's why. There's your answer to that. Of course, he wouldn't dare talk about his so-called personal life because he doesn't have. I think that's one of the reasons why. There's really nothing going on. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, Booktang. I'm going to throw this. Let's throw this puppy in the microwave here. I'm making a little bit of oatmeal. That's another thing I do in the morning. So, like, if you've been on YouTube for a while and you've just been kind of a fly on the wall, maybe you don't post anything on here, and you've been one of these avid listeners and you've been following everything that's been going on here, the one conclusion you probably came up with is, am I all the things that people talk about on here? No, I'm not. There actually are people that actually like me on here. In fact, a lot of the trolls actually like me. They wouldn't listen to me if I didn't have anything to talk about. I mean, even the trolls wouldn't even listen to me because you can only listen to somebody so far. You can only listen to somebody's channel and just get totally bored of what you listen to and you tune out. There's only so much you can do. You like to listen to people's channels that you feel are, controversial in some nature or another. That's pretty typical on here. And then you get involved in the drama. It becomes like Popeye's favorite soap operas. This is a man, a grown-ass man, by the way. A grown-ass man who's not out there pussy. He's sitting home with his gin and his pack of Camels. And he's listening to all the mayhem on YouTube. And because I've always been very successful in painting a proper picture and scenario of Popeye, just like what happened with Brevis and Barry. There you go. Now you know what's really going on from me, from my mouth. That's why Popeye's so against me, because I've been against Popeye for years. I always thought he was a scumbag, and everybody else knows he's a scumbag. That's what he does with his life. So as Popeye always says to begin his monologue, well, there you go, after he does my simulcast. And he always has something to say about every show I put on. That's his life. That's it. In a nutshell, that's his life. Impressive? You think it's pretty impressive? Oh, it's very impressive, isn't it? But that's what these people do. And is it sad? Yeah, it's sad. You got one life, and that's what you do with your life is simulcast somebody's show to take notes. What does Frank have to say today? What can I use against Frank? Not only is it infantile, but it's just downright embarrassing. Or as the real Popeye says, embarrassing. Embarrassing. And it is. It's horribly embarrassing. That's what your life has come down to? Say anything you want about me. I got settled in the Philippines. I made a choice to come out here. He's afraid to come to the Philippines. He hasn't been to the Philippines in like fucking 35, 40 years. But he comes in on the community like, he's really part of this community. You don't even fucking live here. Like, again, he's part of the people that are living their lives vicariously through somebody else's who's actually living life. It doesn't have to be an exciting life, but they're living life out here. They're actually here. And on top of that, not only are they here, but they're in a solid relationship. They own a home and, you know, they're all rooted. Got friends in town here, Popeye doesn't have any of that. And a lot of these YouTubers don't have that either. You'd be surprised how many. Expat says, you can tell he has no money. He should be traveling since he's. You would think so. When do you ever hear of Popeye traveling anywhere? I don't think he barely. Hold on, guys. Should have a job here. I got it. When do you ever hear him? Occasionally, he's gone to a casino. He goes to a bingo parlor. Oh man, you might as well just shoot yourself. Really, if your life has come down to that. I mean, I don't live this big, exciting life that I'm traveling places and shit like that, but that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. But at least I have a resemblance of a fucking life. I got everything I set out to do. Everything I set out and planned to do, I've been doing. I'm here. I've been in the Philippines quite a long time. Thank you very much. Quite a long time. Quite a long time. And I'm still here, though they're trying to get me out of the Philippines. All this little behind the scenes planning of putting complaints against me and all that shit. Can you believe? Grown ass adults doing shit like that? You believe? Yeah, it's real. You can't make this shit up. I mean, you could make it up, but it's true. Anyway, there he is. Okay, now my oatmeal. Very simple. I put the tiniest dash of salt in here. And I like to put a little tab of butter in here for flavor. I never really said that, and I sometimes add cinnamon to this too. I might do that. So I take a little bit of butter. Because I just can't. I ran out of blueberries, so I can't put any blueberries in here. I might have some strawberries left, but I'm not going to bother to defrost them. But I've got my, just a bit of butter. It seems a little dry. I should have. Yeah, all right. Let's see. Got to read the comments. Expat Forever says, Frank, do you send the cop? Did you send the cops to Popeye's house for cyberbullying? No, never did. That was all bullshit made up from him. Pennywise back. Popeye has an e-bike to get around. So since he probably was arrested for a DUI, got his license revoked. You know what, man? Um, you might be right on that. There might be some truth to that. Or he definitely is immobile because Nico slipped one day, which he does a lot on this show. Nico slipped, the buddy of Popeye that never even met him personally, to my understanding, slipped and said that, oh, so what that Popeye has to get around on a mobility scooter. He said it exactly what it was. It was a mobility scooter. So Nico screwed up on that. That's how we know that Popeye is on a mobility scooter to get around. His illustrious career. No, he didn't get maimed or anything in the service. He's nothing more than a scrappy fucking security guard at the gate. Though he claims he's seen action, he knows what, it's called false valor, I mean, veterans should hate this guy, really. The ones that really served in the field. Popeye never did. What did he say? He was a gunner's mate or something like that? Whatever he was, he graduated to a fucking gate guard, security. Popeye's favorite satisfying part of his day is peanut butter time with his little dog. Here, lick it off. Lick it off. We know he sleeps with his dog. I believe it's female. That's the only female he's gotten close to other than his daughter, who supposedly lives in the house. I wouldn't be surprised. Here's a little peanut butter, sweetie. Let's see how energetic you are today. Don't you find this just hilarious? The very characters that attack other people on YouTube are the most pathetic people ever that have no reason to talk about anybody else on here. I mean, look at me. Yeah, is that his dog's name, Hector? I think I'm reasonably healthy for my age. I think I'm aging fairly well. That's a plus. We've seen the most recent pictures we could of Popeye, and he was not looking good, man, at all. But anyway, this show is not about Popeye. It's just the fact that he's simulcasting me. That I'll even talk about him. Okay, what else do we have here? Popeye worked as a cook in a Navy. He was doing cook job. He was cooking. That's his glorious career. Then managed to get a position as a security guard at the gate. Always felt real important. Might even had a weapon on him. He felt real important. For a guy like him, you got to feel important somehow. Pretty much because nobody in his life ever thought of him as being important at all. So you seem to think that he wasn't even a military policeman, that he was just a cook. Well, that's all possible. Well, the guy lies so much that sometimes you don't know what to believe. Another Barry. Expat says he's a nobody. Well, we've all established that. No doubt about that. So, who comes out at the winning end on YouTube? That's according to the way you look at it. I've ended up a winner no matter what. Right now, it's just hoping that immigration does something to me. That's what they're all waiting for. That's what they're all waiting for. We want to see what happens with that. Henceforth, the report that Barry's girlfriend made against me, the totally false, bogus report. That's what they're all waiting for and praying and hoping. What they don't understand, even if that did happen, I would not be permanently blacklisted. If it was a crime that I committed, if it was, I didn't do anything that dastardly to deserve me having a permanent blacklist. So I'd be back in the Philippines in no time at all, if that ever happened, if it ever came down to that. And like I said, I've been away from my girlfriend over a year one time because of the COVID. I handled that, and I can handle anything that's put forward to me because I could. Of course, nobody wants to be in that position of not knowing. That's kind of what's been going on. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but my attorney is actually dealing with that right now. Whether he's doing what he has to do today or tomorrow, whatever, but he's dealing with that right now. I'm not telling you what's going on with that, but we've been busy. Not as busy as I'd like on this matter, but we've been handling things behind the scene. That much I could tell you. No, I ran out of blueberries. No, this is oatmeal with just a touch of coarse salt. Actually, that's all I had. I really want to get some Himalayan or get some sea salt or something, but the only reason the difference between regular salt and others is that if you get like sea salt or something like that or Himalayan, they have minerals in it, unlike regular table salt. And I put a pinch of table salt in there, and I put like a little tab of butter in there for flavor. Then I could enjoy my oatmeal. Because the fact is, plain oatmeal is like eating cardboard. You might as well be eating the box it came in. You got to put something in your oatmeal, and preferably fruit if you have it. I got strawberries left, but I was just too lazy to go defrost them. I've been ignoring my strawberries. But normally I buy blueberries, but I'm out. The only way to get blueberries really is go to Cebu, or occasionally, on a rare occasion, there's a place in Bantayan town that occasionally might have something in stock, but it's rare. And of course, I get them frozen, of course. I mean, that's the best way to buy them. You use what you need, throw the rest back in the refrigerator, freezer, And the strange thing is, like I said, I don't even, unless it's incorporated into a pie or a cake or something, I don't even really like the taste of blueberries unless they're actually fresh, not frozen, because frozen has a whole different taste to it. Again, I take it, for medicinal purposes. What do they have now? There's antioxidants, flavonoids. I don't know. There's all kinds of shit in blueberries. It's on the list, other than chocolate and some other item, broccoli or broccoli sprouts, or some to be in some of the most natural antioxidants you could put in your body through food. Pennywise. Frank, do you think Nico wants to pay you a visit for the Puerto Rican stream that you made a week ago? Hey, I don't own the island. I don't own the island. I can't stop him from coming down here. And what happens afterwards, he comes down here, and what he plans to do, or think he might do, that's a whole other story. Could turn out pretty goddamn ugly, actually, for him. I'm always prepared for something like that. And I'm not going to tell you how I'm prepared, but I'm always prepared for something like that. Besides having CCTV cameras around, record every fucking thing. Okay. Wow. Oh, the kiwi. I wish I would have known that before I made my oatmeal. Look at that, folks. She's got some kiwi here. Well, Filipinos, they got to have bread with their coffee, right? That's mandatory.
What mandatory? The bread
The bread, yeah, mandatory.
for
Mandatory
morning.
for morning coffee.
Yeah.
But you got this, it's just expensive. Kiwi's expensive.
It's 40 pesos each here.
each kiwi is 40 fucking pesos. 40 fucking pesos. That equals to like 78 cents, 77 cents for one kiwi. Let me have a bite. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Kiwi is actually on my list, although I don't buy it much. I don't always have it here. One of my favorite fruits, actually, above blueberries, really. A lot of nutrients in that sucker, too. No shitting around on that. Expat Forever says Nico isn't going to Bantayan. He's hiding, but his whereabouts are unknown. I know, they're all fucking cowards. Well, if you want to get their neck broken, their knees shattered or something, don't even try to even come up to me and expect that because you're bigger or younger than me that you just got it made in proverbial shade. It doesn't always work that way. I demonstrated something to Gilda the other day. I was just fucking around in the exercise room. Remember Gilda? What happened the other day in the exercise room with that piece of wood? Yeah. Could you believe I actually did that? I broke a board with my hands. I thought maybe I was going to get a fucking broken wrist or a broken hand or something, but I said, hey, check this out. Check this out. And I had her son, both of them, here, hold this wood on each end and hold it really tight. I surprised the shit out of him. One punch broke that wood in half. It was about, not really that thick, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And it wasn't, it was not, coconut wood or anything like that. This was a pine wood, but still, and you got to see what they charge out here if you could find any pine. It's almost impossible to find here, certainly at least in the province. But it's something I had that was actually part of a shelving. I never got to paint it up and put it up. It was part of a shelving for my food pantry. I broke that sucker in half. Broke that sucker in half. Bam. To even Gilda's surprise. Were you surprised that I was able to do that?
Yeah. Surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. One more. Let me get one. So let's kind of like throw out this theory that a guy my age, height, girth, whatever, can't defend himself. Is it going to work every time if you got it? No, not necessarily, man. You get your ass kicked too. But that's all the shit you got to take in consideration. But if you come across a situation like that, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to do something to protect yourself, God damn, is that up and on all night?
No, just now.
Oh, thank you. Good. Yeah. Okay, good. Because I got this pressure pump, to pressurize the water. And oh my God, this thing goes on every like 3 minutes. We usually turn it on. We're going to do the dishes to get more pressure, but for the shower, because you need pressure in order to get the hot water out. Because these hot water heaters, don't, they need a certain amount of flow of water to work. Otherwise, you're going to burn the elements out. But we also use it for, to fill up the wash basin to wash clothes and stuff like that. But it also consumes a lot of electricity. It's also going to burn out the motor. If you just left it on all the time, it's going on every 3 minutes. It's going to recycle every fucking 3 minutes. I'm not really sure what's causing that. I have not found out the causative factor of why it's doing that. It's not built to do that. It's not meant to do that, in other words. Still got 18 strong in here, man. Damn, we're upcoming. Nico is hiding out his girlfriend's luxury condo unit in the squatter area of Cebu City. Yeah, he doesn't exactly pick or be able to afford the finest accommodations, mostly backpacker hotels and shit like that. Oh, I'm impressed. But if my well, if I was claiming that I was, financially so incredibly stable, all the money, I certainly would be staying in a decent accommodation. It doesn't have to be expensive, just clean, limit the cockroaches, functional, a good air conditioner like a split air. That's imperative. I mean, I want to be comfortable. If I'm on a trip or something, I don't need a fancy condo. And the fanciest condo I ever stayed at, well, the Regency at one time was fancy. It's not anymore. You know, I've also stayed in a few places like Quest, which is pretty decent if you've ever been to the Quest Hotel. It's not the most expensive, but it's not the cheapest either. Quest is pretty good. I've stayed in places that were really substandard sometimes. In the beginning, when I met her, we went to different places. I even went to the Kiwi. Speaking of Kiwi, I went to the Kiwi Hotel. A lot of Australians like to come in there. I think maybe it's Australian owned. It's called the Kiwi. It was old school. Had the stairs made of wood, the railing going up like a Western style movie you see in a saloon. And had a rooms upstairs to rent. Cheap ass air conditioning. That was probably the chingiest place I think I've ever stayed in, other than Red Planet, which was more modern. I mean, no, I don't take it to Red Planet when we go to Cebu. This is when I was, single, and the Red Planet was nothing more than a tiny little box. You barely had room. Who was boasting about that? Oh, somebody was. Actually, it was that guy, Tropical Martini, who got off right away, boasting about his lovely accommodations at the Red Planet, which I swear, guys, if you've never been there before, you got enough room to get in the door. To your immediate left is this shower, which interferes with your door if you open it. You got enough room for a bed. It has a Chinsey TV in there. You barely got any room to actually put your luggage. I mean, it's as basic, and they charge a lot of money. I think they're over 1,500 pesos. That place is not even worth half of that. And if you got stuck and you needed a place overnight and you couldn't find for some reason, yeah, sure, you can go to Red Planet. But the Red Planet was just not a place that you would stay at. You'd get claustrophobic real easy. It's clean. It was always very clean, taken care of. But no, that would be so uncomfortable. And I've been there. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Unless you just really needed a stopover and said, fuck it, I don't feel like looking around. Let's go to the Red Planet. It's a place to lay my head. It's air conditioned. It's got a little TV there, whether it works or not. Okay, I can see you doing that. But no, I wouldn't recommend it. Although the Quest was pretty decent, the Quest. And then you probably heard of the Quest. The Quest Hotel was pretty decent, actually. They're not that cheap either, really. I don't know what I paid for that. I used to go to many, many times the Horizon 101, but I stopped going there. I mean, I must have been there 40 times. I'm not kidding you. 40 times. It has to be. But that place got really burned out because people who do these B&Bs and whatever, they don't really upkeep the place. They use the chintziest furniture, and the room is about the size of a closet. And a lot of the units, you will find has a split air. TV, the bit, has internet. But the problem with that place, and the building isn't really that terribly old, but They got roaches. You don't always see big ones. You see tiny ones on the sink. But just, knowing the fact that these little boogers could be climbing overnight, I don't deal with that very well, to be honest with you. I just don't. Do you think Red Planet rooms are bigger than Bomb Cell? Well, um, hard to say. I've never really seen, but I know that in detention centers and prisons, like where he's at, they could fit up to 40 to 60 people in a relatively small area. And a lot of way, even in the hallways, I mean, they're sleeping on the floor. Obama even said it that I think it was Bickerton that he was saying that, oh, you don't know what it's like in here. Be laying on the floor with fucking cockroaches crawling on you and you're body to body with all these prisons because they're terribly overcrowded, terribly overcrowded. That's true. Imagine sweaty other bodies, up to 60 people in your surroundings, and you can't just get up and walk around to go take a piss or something that easy. You have to walk over all these bodies. Excuse me, oh, excuse me, oh, excuse me, oh, excuse me. I can't imagine, and I don't want to imagine at all. And not to mention the horrible humidity. Fans could only do so much. And, according to what your personality is like, you're not going to get along with everybody in there. There's always going to be somebody or more than one person that decides that they don't like you at all. And with his personality, I imagine he's had a lot of problems in there. I could only guesstimate that he's had numerous encounters that were not probably very pleasant. How many black eyes he got, I don't know. They tried to shank him or something, I don't know. But he has that kind of personality. He tries to fit in with his street talk and all that, which is natural for him. He's been in jail before with his tattoos, his bald head, try to look like a tough guy, talk like a tough guy. But in real life, he ain't shit. He ain't tough at all. His girlfriend or ex girlfriend could beat the shit out of him. But his mouth speaks louder than the actual, his actual prowess. Let's put it that way 20 strong. Right on, brothers. No, I don't imagine, and I don't want to imagine me being in that situation, and I will do everything in the world to make sure that that doesn't happen with me. If that did happen, I would bail myself out, and I'd be okay until we take the next step in the court system to eliminate this complaint and then take further action from that point on to somebody who made the complaint. Supposedly, supposedly she broke up with him. She had on one of her shows, she had an title on there, "Single Again." So I don't know. Do the math on that. Is it just a normal lying shit that her and her boyfriend are, have the capability of? Like her lies on the report she made against me. That's a tell-all thing right there. If you would have read this report, and some of you seen it, total bullshit, totally made up, never happened. Nobody on here has ever heard me call her a whore or a prostitute. And everyone I spoke to on here said the same thing. Frank, I've never heard you say that to her ever. And these are people that have been following me very closely. Almost every show I put on here, there was no video evidence at all or audible evidence to prove that. She said a lot of the fear for her life, this and that, this and that. Never even met her. How could you be a threat to somebody you never even met, nor that you want to meet under any circumstance? So I think you get my drift on that. Well, look, there's going to be no future for them anyway. I wouldn't see why she'd stay in a relationship. I mean, let's talk about sensibility. There's no future. Sure, he can get deported, but he's not going to be able to come back in the Philippines ever again under any circumstance. he might be able to make it to Southeast Asia. Do you know that he never even renewed his passport? His passport is null and void. You're supposed to renew your passport. I just did mine. It's good for another 10 years, a little less now. 5 months before your passport expires. So he not only have all those fines and penalties of his overstay for 7 fucking years, but he has no valid passport at all. Well, that's rough. Pennywise says no face, no case. Not always, though. But yeah, it does apply, though, actually, the law here. That's pretty strong. No face, no case. Fazio couldn't do that with me. Poor guy was embarrassed beyond belief. His behavior at the MBI office was incredible. His true colors showed out to the MBI officers. You had to be there. You had to be there. You know the crazy thing about the Fazio situation? I had to sit in front of a desk in a chair that was 2 inches from his extremely wide legs. If you've ever seen the bottom portion, especially of Fazio, not just his stomach, but his legs, you'd think it have a zip code on its own. And with all the tension between me and Michael Fazio, can you imagine this scenario where me and him are in a room together? You did yours last week? Yeah. 2 inches, 2 inches from the bastard. But you know what? The whole time I was cool as a cucumber, and they recognized that. And he blurted out about 3 different times to the NBI officers. They saw that he had a temperament uncontrollable. He did not like to lose in anything, but he lost that. People say, oh, a few cases Frank's had or whatever. He lost all the time. What did I lose? Fazio lost. He couldn't put a case against me. He lost. He didn't have the evidence. He lost. They would have went with him. Would have went with him anyway on this thing because they seen how rowdy he was in the MBI office, and he was. Like my lawyer at the time, a very big firm, one of the most expensive firms in Cebu, is where I started off with this case with Barry. You're talking 100,000 a shot. So part of me, I spent more than 400,000. I definitely spent about 500 because this firm, which is a big firm, you're not going to retain him for less than 100,000 pesos. And when I was in there, I said, "What the hell?" I took out 100,000 pesos out of my wallet. My wallet was pretty thick; you barely get it in my shorts. Actually, my jeans, because when you go to a legal office or anything like that, you have to wear long pants. You got to look respectable. Plastered down 100 grand right there. Boom. And it also cost me yeah, that was for actually no, that was for Fazio's thing. No, that was for Fazio's thing. That wasn't for Barry's. That was Fazio's situation. Yeah, it still cost me 100,000 for Fazio. 100,000 plus expenses for riding the ferry from Cebu for the lawyer, which we all went together to go to the NBI office in was it Taglabaran? It was great. I'm sitting there just cool as a fucking cucumber, man. Always knew Fazio was a scammer. Well, everybody knew that. No, I didn't really have a case against him, you know. He lost. He tried to do a case against me, but he failed terribly, horribly. And he wasn't happy about it at all, I can tell you that. Quite embarrassed about it. But like I said, they'll present themselves as they are, and Fazio kind of verbally blasting out on 3 occasions in that one visit there. They knew what he was all about. They knew he was a troublemaker. I'm sitting there, and certainly by my own demeanor, and also by instructions from it was a woman, my lawyer, and I wasn't just represented by her. The whole firm of like 12
different people that worked for that firm. All of them were at my service. You don't just get, when you deal with a firm, it's the whole legal staff that's behind you because, excuse me, she doesn't just do her work, but she has other lawyers that are doing research and all that on the person and, you know, finding certain clauses and all kinds of shit. So I had the whole fucking office that had some involvement. That's why it's so expensive because you're not just getting represented by one lawyer, you're getting represented by the whole firm because they will pass over information to other lawyers in the firm and they will go over some stuff and contribute stuff. So it's even the guy I have right now, you know, he has a staff of about, I don't know, 9 people. And one of them in particular is his right hand man that I deal with. And I'm more in touch with his associate than I am with him. And he handles a lot of the paperwork and does some of the legwork and stuff for my main lawyer. Okay. See how that works? So I'm not just represented by one lawyer, it's a whole firm. A whole firm. Now, he has a contact over in Manila, I can say that does deal with immigration. Another lawyer, which is a friend of his, is going to be looking into this matter a little bit deeply, a little more carefully. So we'll see what happens with that. That's the most I could tell you about any legalities going on presently with the complaint situation with Barry's girlfriend. That's kind of where it stands. So we'll see. And it may not turn out very good for her because definitely decided to allocate. I got to sneeze. And see, that's where Big E comes in. They don't want to help Barry out. They don't know Mick Fisher. They're both buddies with money. But when it comes to Barry's ex, they will help her out. That's how I know it has something to do with it. They will come to her assistance. They will not come to Barry's. Well, she's a woman. That's why. You know how that works with these guys, right? If it's a woman, I'll support you. Express says, damn, Frank, between Barry Fazio, the pizza guy, the Ponzi scheme, Filipina Shaw, you spent a lot of legal. Yeah, I have. I don't have any regrets. I'll do it again. I don't have any. People think I'm broke. I'm not rich, but I'm not broke. I'll spend every fucking penny I have, every peso I have to get the job done. And I have so far. I'm spending. I have no regrets. Sure, sure. I could use the money for more important things, but in order to finish business and get business done, it's a cash society. Money's always involved. You're not going to get nothing for it. There's no such thing as pro bono in the Philippines. Very rare to find a lawyer that's going to represent you pro bono, free, because they like you so much. No, it's a business. That's how they make a living. That's what they went to school for. And they're tight with their money in the Philippines. They're not going to go pro bono for you. They're not going to do that. Not even remotely. Don't even expect. It just practically does not exist. Pennywise says, Frank, do you think he'd pay more in legal fees as Jim did for his house? And I don't know what his failed businesses. No, not with his failed businesses. He paid 400,000. No, I think what was it? 400,000 pesos for the house. What was it? Dollars? Ain't dollars. That house he built is not a $400,000 American USD house. It had to be 400,000 pesos. I spent quite a bit. I would conservatively say I would probably say between Fazio, Barry, and Barry's girlfriend, I'd probably have to say, I don't know, I'd probably have to say about 600,000 pesos, conservatively. Probably. I don't have the exact amount. Still a lot of money. But I'm one of those guys. I got to get my point through. I want to get it over with. I want to go on the attack legally and, get business taken care of. And it's not for free. There's nothing for free out here. You're not going to find anything for free in the Philippines. It's according how convicted you are to your quest. What you need to do is going to require money. They write something up that's going to cost you something. They make an appearance in court, it's going to cost you something. Nothing is free. Sometimes it's going to get to the point that the air you breathe is not going to be free. Well, Jim is in big trouble. He doesn't want to admit how big a trouble he's in. But this is a spouse that's reporting her husband, spouse, very important, that he's committing adultery. She's got all his videos of him with this girl. I know he ain't screwing her. She wouldn't touch him with a fucking, with your dick. Uh, but he's just trying to make his wife, Dexel, jealous and upset, put her in misery, trying to show on the show he's having this wonderful time in Cambodia. This exceptional, phenomenal time in Cambodia, which he's not. He's not doing much there, except vlogging about Dexel and having some retarded guests from that Irishman, the Dubliner. That was an embarrassing show, I must say. All the guy cares about is building up his muscles. Brawn, but no fucking brain. That's a hell of a way to go through life. Muscles don't mean shit. His internal health, that might be something. Speaking of the devil, uh, I think Jim must have finished the show. I just had a notification on here. I'm going to plan to get off here anyway. If you want to watch Jim's show, I just got a notification that he had a show on. It just came on or something like that. But, when you just add it all up, was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. I'm quite satisfied how it turned out with Barry. It's not over yet, by the way, with him. Did you know, which I don't talk about, did you know that because of Barry's threats, that's a whole separate case? I could, at any moment and any time, put a legitimate second case against him. Second case. We've talked about it because we've got all the videos of his death threats to me. Oh, Barry doesn't do anything wrong, according to Big E and those people. The hell he don't. Pennywise says there is no evidence of Jim's adultery. Jim does not show himself in bed naked with naked women. Being on video with women does not show adultery. It hints on it. Well, it doesn't make him look good, is the point. She's got a video also of them walking in the streets and how abusive he was to her verbally. And so, supposedly from her, I think he's actually struck her. She's got the evidence. She's not going to put it all on air. I got evidence against a lot of people on here, but I'm not going to put it all on air on my show. There's some things I will keep to myself until I need to use them. And since everything that's going on with all this shit, legal shit, you probably can figure damn well that Frank keeps his evidence, has evidence on numerous people on here, and I have it on the side just in one of those just in case situations. I think ahead, okay? Why? Because I have to, especially what's going on. You want to protect yourself, so you have to think ahead. Gather all the evidence on just about everybody on here. Keep it to the side. So when you do need it, lo and behold, you got it. There you go. You got to prepare yourself for anything on here. Yeah, but Jim is a total scumbag anyway. He's a belligerent drunk, and that's the problem. Does Jim have the capability of being nice? I'm probably sure he does. But I think his alcohol and whatever drug use, I think, is the key factors in his personality. And he's been in trouble in the past. He's been to jail. He probably doesn't drive because he probably has a permanently in the United States anyway. You know, revoke his license probably revoked and all that. He had DUIs, all that shit. He said, real gentleman, real gentleman. Well, I'm going to get off here. If you want to listen to what Jim just put on, I don't think he's live. I really don't know. I just saw a notification on here. If you really want to care to listen to his show, Pennywise says roid rage makes Jim unpredictable. Yeah, you got to watch out when somebody's on steroids and all that shit and testosterone. Then you combine that with his drinking. It's a really bad combination. In fact, the dude is fucking retarded because the guy admitted he takes like fucking Valiums or something to go to sleep because he can't sleep good. That's why he's up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He was walking in the streets in his underwear with his hat on with his selfie stick in Cambodia. It's got it on there. I think it's still on there. Yeah, I'm not making this shit up. And he drinks on top of it. You cannot drink taking Valium or any benzos or anything. You could it could kill you. So what does he care about his health so much, building up his muscles when everything else is out of control in his life? Maybe it's not his muscles he should try to get under control, but his whole mannerism, his whole demeanor, his lifestyle, his rage, roid rage, and everything. Maybe it's time. Hello, Bueno Cano. I'm about to get off. Well, you know he's going downhill, and we know a number of people out here that are going down. It's just a matter of time. Have I been right before? Yes, I have. You watch and see. Give it a little time. They've been dropping like flies on here. Even Flying Circus is in his 80s. He ain't gonna last that much longer. They're all gonna be gone. That'll be just replaced with a new crew of shitheads. Frank, you should do a consultation with Jim and teach him how to believe in Southeast Asia. I don't give a fuck what he does. Consult him for shit. Oh, he's going to kick everybody's ass. Well, I think he would be able to kick, definitely would be able to kick Ricky's ass because Jim has some endurance training as far as, I mean, anybody his height and weight that could do pull ups and push ups like he does. No, he's got endurance. Ricky wouldn't have endurance. Ricky is totally out of shape cardiovascular wise. He is totally out of shape. That's why he will never approach Jim. It will never happen, as well as it never happened with other people, as with Mick Fisher and all that shit. He stood down to Mick Fisher that time. You remember that? No, Ricky would be on the ground with Jim. I'm not sticking up for Jim. I don't even like Jim. But Jim would have, no doubt, Ricky on the ground and would pound his ass into the ground. I have no question about that. With that being said, I'm out of here. I'm obviously on. Catch you on my next show, whenever it is. I don't think I'm going to come on with every women thought that I have and do a show at a moment's notice just because I have something on my mind. I'm not going to do that anymore, and I got to get off. And speaking of exercise, I got to do a little bit of that. So I've been a fantastic audience this morning, I must say. What do you think, Popeye? Pretty impressive. Now Popeye can do his monologue. Go ahead and embarrass yourself again, Popeye. I'm all for it. We all are. And by the way, Poppy, again, they're not laughing with you. They're
There we go. He is gone. Oh man, he is gone. Oh, such heartbreak to see Frank go. Back to Frank's exercise, raking the grass. Oh man, I tell you, Well, let's yeah, let's do our poll, okay? And poll, is aloe full of shit? 66% say yes. 18% say no. 16% say maybe. Ah, come on, that's a fucking cop out. You maybe motherfuckers, I tell you. uh, it is what it is, though. It is what it is. But wow, we got a lot to get into tonight. We got a lot to get into tonight. And I tell you know, Aloe says that Frank won. And Aloe, you're only half right. You're only half right, Aloe. And I'll tell you why. Frank won when he paid all that money to get Barry picked up. And Barry got picked up, okay? Without a doubt. Barry is not staying in jail because of Frank's bullshit, and I'll prove that to you. He's in jail because he's a 8 year or 7 or 8 year overstayer. Okay. And that's that. Fucking this futile exercise that Frank went through, his words, he spent over 600 pesos. That's well over a $500,000 to get Barry picked up and get a judgment of 250,000 peso on it. Now that's fucking sad. That's not a win. That's a big L in my book. And here's why it's a big L. Now let's take Fazio and our boy Dipshit Travel. What happened there? Dipshit Travel slapped the shit out of Fazio. He went to jail for what? 4 days? Bailed out? Didn't even get in trouble. And I can guarantee you that if Barry had an up to date visa, he'd have got bailed out and he'd be roaming the streets still calling Frank a pedophile. And Frank would be jumping up and down all over himself. Okay? So Frank didn't win shit. And here's where Frank's L gets even bigger. After Frank got him picked up, Barry kept opening his mouth while he was in the Mandawi 6 hotel, calling Frank a fucking pedophile. Which in fact is true because Frank is a pedophile. We all know it. We got the video evidence. Him and B-Bots are brothers. Okay. And so when you have a situation like this, Frank is now on hold departure. He can't leave the country. He's been on hold departure for 17 months. And 12 of those months now are overstay. Right? So is he going to have the money if he gets out of this to pay all the overstay fees to get his visa up to date? Will they let him get his visa up to date, or will they throw him out of the country? That all remains to be seen. Allo stated in one of his comments he thinks what Frank did was pretty good for a country that where nothing happens. Oh, again, Allo, nothing happens because nobody's getting paid. If you want something to happen in Philippines, you have to pay somebody. Okay? If you don't pay anybody, they're not going to get off their fucking goddamn dead ass and do anything. And Allo, you know that. So that's why I put the poll up there. Allo is full of shit. Right? I call it as I see it. Right? And tell me if you agree or disagree. In my book, it does qualify as a pedophile because when you do something like that, singing the Mushroom Man about another man's penis and explicitly say to the kid, he's got a little pee-pee like a mushroom, and talking about another man's genitalia to an 8-year-old boy is called grooming. Okay? And I am sick and fucking tired of people making excuses and brushing it off. That's why pedophiles get away with it a lot of times because people are just too afraid to point the finger at them. And I'm pointing the finger at this pedophile tonight. Hey, he was grooming that 8-year-old little boy. He got a big old court case on it. He owes $60K in Hawaii to that family. See, now, hell on earth you saying what happened with the boy off camera / live? I have no idea. I can't speak to that. I will only speak to what happened on camera, what Frank did on camera. That's all I will not make any assumptions what happened off camera. But if you get a chance, go to the Hawaii court system, Mad Max, and you could dig up his lawsuit and read that fucking lawsuit. You will be shocked of all the allegations in there. Popeye, you are jealous because you got a mushroom also. Thank you, Van Turner. Oh. And then this guy has the fucking balls to accuse another blogger of, fucking cheating on his wife, okay, adultery, when in fact, he's in an adulterous situation himself. He's living with a married woman. She's committing adultery. He's committing adultery. He's breaking Philippine law. She's breaking Philippine law. Okay? This guy has no fucking room to talk. None whatsoever. Everything that comes out of his mouth is hypocritical. Taking a kid's story time with a drag queen, I find hard. Exactly. That right there. You've seen that shit on the news. That's pedophile behavior. That's fucking grooming, man. And that's the same thing Frank did. Okay. Dude, I remember when we went after B-Bots, the whole RRR crew. Okay. There was a lot of people out there made comments. Oh, are you sure about that? This and that. And the excuses were fucking horrifying. And then he got caught. He got sent to jail. And then he got out of jail because he paid to get out of jail. And that's proof of what I'm telling you. Nothing happens in Philippines unless somebody gets fucking paid. That's fact, not fiction. That's not an insult. That's truth. That's just the way it is. It was like that when I went there, and it's like that today. Dude, Raven, we are at a point right now where it's just sit and wait until Philippine government gets off their ass. It's all you can do. Or if he fucks up even harder, dude, somebody's got to report it. Somebody's got to haul his ass into court. Hey? Dude, Alo's a Philippine citizen. He's been there to Bantayan. He could go there. He could pay fucking money. He could get fucking Frank locked up. Without a doubt, in my mind, I know Alo could do that. But will he do it? No. Ask why. Ask Alo why he won't do it. Okay. I'm sure as shit not going to fly 15,000 miles to get that motherfucker locked up. Because the last thing I want to do is go to Philippines. Right? Not interested. Been there, done that, got the fucking t-shirt. It gets old real quick. If you like Philippines, congratulations. Good for you. You know? If you feel like I do, good for you too. Everybody has their opinion. You don't have to like it, but everybody has their opinion, period. Oh. But that's how it rolls, Raven. That's all I could tell you. Okay? And but you know, this guy contradicts himself at every fucking turn. He'll sit there, I could beat the shit out of this guy, that guy. Then he turns around and what does he say? I'm 71 years old. There's laws here to protect me. I mean, you don't get it both ways. You just really don't. Okay. He got pissed because I called him a prescription drug abuser. I did not just say he was on prescription drugs. He is a prescription drug abuser. Okay. Dude, benzodiazepine and Lexapro are for short term only. And you got to be seeing a psychiatrist. Right? It's very addictive substance. He said he was going to get off it, but he didn't. He went right back on it. He can't get off it. Right? Long-term use of this shit is very damaging. Right? So he's just got some doctor who doles it out to him. Says, here you go. This guy has been taking this shit practically his whole life because of panic attacks. Right? This guy has proven himself to be fucking mentally ill. So how do you deal with the mentally ill? You fucking lock them up. You get them proper psychiatric help. Right? Dude, could you imagine him going through detox? Oh my God. He'd be in so much fucking pain. He couldn't even handle a little kidney stone. Detox would kill him. Let's see. Raven says, I've never listened to someone with so many doubts, standards, and such a hypocrite, chain smoking, nicotine drug abuser, talking out both sides of his mouth. He's a fucking lunatic. He is. Okay. And that's why I say whatever comes out of his suck, it's more than likely a lie. Okay. And sorry, that's just the way I see it. He gets pissed because I comment on him. You know, too bad. Too bad. You know, that's just the way it is. He doesn't, I mean, why not? He comments on everybody else, comments on Jim, comments on, he comments on Dipshit Travel, Jay, Nico. Uh, there isn't a channel out there he hasn't had something negative to say about. Okay? He's the original negative Nancy. Okay? And I believe this all stems from his prescription drug abuse. Period. So, with that, that's all I got to say tonight. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. And thank you for your questions, your comments. And I want to thank Raven, Don C. Let's not forget the pathological liar. Exactly. That comes along with being, a lunatic, Don C. And Van Turner, enjoy your red horse, bro. Chase and Tail, good to see you. All my other regulars, ET Travel Freely. Dipshit Travel is big shot travel. Or sick grandpa. So, guys, this is Popeye One. I'm out of here.